This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Alive Again. And this is all things spiritual, and we're going to push this spiritualness a little bit over the edge today. We're going to talk to Cynthia from Beauties and Beasts Inc. as a dog groomer. And I thought it was interesting to see if dogs were spiritual or what goes on in the dog grooming world and how you talk to the dog groomer and how they interact. But I was going to look at it from a spiritual side. But most of all, I want to thank you for being a dog groomer, because in my mind, dog groomers are like really special people, because no way I'd be cutting some nails and tails and expressing anal glands and doing all that stuff with some of these creatures I see out there.
Thank you.
And, I have a dog groomer, and she comes and she has this little trailer, and she walks up in this little trailer. It's pretty cool. It's got air conditioned heat on the top, and, and she's either got to be the most spiritual person I know. She listens to audiobooks all the time, or the most well-read person I've ever known. But that's just a world of its own. So I got to welcome Cynthia and go, what got you into this?
So my brothers owned a pet supply store in the Virgin Islands, and I was graduating from college during one of those bad periods in 2009. So they offered me a job, because I wasn't going to have one, to be a pet groomer for them. So in 2009, I studied with a school that no longer exists in Florida, and then I became a pet groomer. I was there for about 3 years before I came back to New York.
Were you on Long Island? Where in New York?
Long Island, yes.
You're on Long Island, all right.
And born and raised. So I worked at a shop here for a while, and now I have my own thing.
Do you have one of those tiny little trailers that you drag around to everybody?
I do, but my truck no longer drags it everywhere. So now I stay put with my trailer, or I go to homes, what's called house call grooming.
Oh, cool. Now, just out of curiosity, because a lot of people think that, dog groomers are the it, because if they have a dog, they got to have a dog groomer. I mean, it's like, I know this lady who adopted this puppy, darling little thing. But before the puppy was like 12 weeks old, she had a dog groomer in place.
Absolutely.
Are you serious? She said that's the most important thing about this dog's life. And she interviewed dog groomers so that this little puppy would be with the right hands with Pierre or Francois or whoever it was she ended up. And she must have interviewed about 5 to 10 of them. And she would say, well, I didn't like their attitude, or I didn't like the way they groomed, or they did a cut and I didn't like the way the cut was. Or, she's like show cut. She likes it like down to the show cut level.
Absolutely.
And our groomer is like, near, not close to, sort of, it'll be all right. And so I learned that there's this whole world out there, but I don't see how you do it.
It does take a good deal of patience, but at the same time, it is the pleasure of working with animals all day.
Well, now, are animals spiritual? Do you read their energy when they come in? Like, you got little friendly Fido, the Chihuahua that thinks it's a Great Dane, and you got this big old, lap dog that lays up on the Labrador that's wiggling the whole time. Do you assess them energetically or spiritually, or going, whoa? Or how do you assess how you're going to work with them?
It's definitely an intuitive thing to assess the energy, because dealing with a nervous pup is a lot different than dealing with a dog who has been coming every 2 weeks their whole life and is used to the shop as a...
Do they get used to those spa days?
A good many of them do. Some of them never do. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. And so is it the attitude of the dog? Like, yeah, maybe I'm here for a spa day and have my nails done. Or are they just sort of like, oh my God, it's her?
A mix.
Really?
So that's one of the important things about starting young, is getting them used to everything. Because a grooming shop is a very scary experience. Imagine not being able to communicate anything at all, and then having someone wash you, dry you with these loud dryers, manipulate your body in every which way, touching your privates, cutting your nails. And
do you do tinky shaves?
Yes.
What then they call them? I know when Friend was sick, he got a bladder or urinary tract infection, and they said, well, you need to do a tinky shave. And I went, what? And then what's it called? A groomer called? The groomer says, oh,
that's a sanitary.
A sanitary thing. Okay, now let me just pass this on, since we're also doing healing with animals on this. If your pet does have a urinary tract infection, I have learned from groomers and veterinarians that it's really important to have what'd you call
Sanitary.
A sanitary trim, because that allows, especially in no harm many are boy puppies that have, and I learned this. I didn't learn, this grooming thing is important. Dogs, Tinkies, have hairs that guide where they aim their urine. And I didn't know this. They call them guide hairs. And I'm going, what? But if a pet has a urinary tract infection, those guide hairs should be removed in a sanitary cut. Is that the way you say it? So that it doesn't come back and irritate the parts, is the best way to say that. And I never learned that until Friend was sick, and he did have a urinary tract infection. So for all of you out there who listen, if you think this doesn't matter, it does. I think that having a sanitary cut for animals that are unhealthy is something you need to learn about, and that's why I wanted to bring it up today, although it's sort of like, oh my God, she's not going to talk about that. It should be talked about.
It is a standard part of a normal groom, but if you have a dog that we consider a bath dog, so they don't usually get a haircut, that isn't always standard. So if your dog...
All right, now say that again. I don't understand what you mean.
So if you have a dog who usually gets a haircut, like a Shih Tzu or a Poodle, something like that, that's standard to the groom. That's something we do to every dog. But if you have a dog like a Lab or a short-haired Chihuahua, we don't typically do that unless it's requested.
Okay, well, let's stop right there. Okay, folks, we're going to take a break from our sponsors and come back because I got a question for her.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Now you say, unless it's requested. This whole thing is about how do we talk to a dog groomer? I mean, give me some ideas of what's like off the chart, not to say, what it means, and some of the things that people say to you that are just like, what? Really? So how do we talk to a dog groomer? I'm coming in and I've got a dog. How am I going to talk to you? What do I say to you? I don't know if that's a Tinky groom, a bushy cut, or a bath bub, or whatever. What do I need to say?
So every shop uses different language. So
really?
Yes.
Now, wait. You mean when I go to dog grooming school, I'm not going to learn what Sally does and Martha does? Everybody has their own thing. It's not like a standard lingo.
Exactly. Technically, dog grooming is not regulated. So we don't have an overarching authority telling us this is the standard way of doing things.
So there's not a glossary in a dictionary. When I say I want a sanitary cut, you just go, oh, that means trim is winky. That doesn't mean anything to you. It's like, okay, to you, it means one thing, and to Martha, it means another.
For the most part, yes.
Wow. Okay, so how do I know when I come in your salon, Cynthia, this is what I need to say to get my dog done right?
So the best language is pictures. It should be a picture of a dog that looks like your dog, or if you've moved, a picture of your dog the way you like them done in the past.
Okay, so you're saying when I moved from Boston to Long Island, and I've had Fluffy done 1,000 times by my little pet groomer, Fifi does Fluffy, and Fifi does Fluffy the way I like it. I need to take a picture after the groom of Fluffy so that since Fifi's not doing it anymore, I can say, Cynthia, say this is what I want.
And sometimes if Fifi is accommodating, she'll give you the instructions to pass on to me. Sometimes. If you say, I want my groomer to groom my dog the way you've been doing it, can you please give me instructions? Most groomers are happy to help you out. Some groomers aren't.
Not so much. They're creative souls, right?
Exactly.
Creative souls. In other words, is there a sort of like a camaraderie among groomers, or is it more competition? My dog's prettier than your dog.
Overall, there's camaraderie because we all know how difficult this job is. And we're facing a groomer shortage because
anal glands. That's why.
Anal glands are Is it touchy
Expectoration,
topic?
isn't that what it is?
Yep, expressing the anals. It's touchy because I learned things about it. So some groomers do it, some groomers don't. I don't. I feel like that's something in the veterinary purview because it is an internal system.
Yes, squish.
But many, many, many groomers still do it. I just personally do not. But getting back to how you speak to a groomer, you have a new puppy. You have this new, beautiful little golden doodle
Fluff dog.
you love so much. And you come in, you're like, I want a puppy cut. That language means something different in every single shop. So you need to talk in terms of length. How much length do you want left on your dog?
Wait, how much length I want left on him?
Right.
Is that fur length?
Correct.
Not ear length, toenail length, or anything like that. What am I talking about? What if I don't want his toes done? I mean, do I say, oh, I only want I want a squoval cut on his nails and polished, or do I say, don't you touch his nails? He likes to dig. What do I even have to talk about that?
Almost everyone walks in and says, please get the nails short as possible as you can.
So they don't have to do it more than once.
But the thing is,
And don't scratch the floors. Okay.
groomers, unless we missed a step, will always do your dog's nails unless you requested not, or if it is entirely too stressful for your dog and there's a risk of injury to the dog or the groomer.
Oh, so after he bites you, you figure I better not do the other feet?
Something like that, yeah.
No, really, what happens if that happens?
Usually we'll put a muzzle on them, and if they're thrashing too much, then it's, okay, we can't do this without the dog also being injured. Now, we take bites as occupational hazard, but
No. Are you
Yeah.
serious? How many times you get bit a month?
not that often. I've been bit in my entire grooming career, so we're going on 2009, a long time. But 16 years, right? Okay, I could do math. I've been bit less than 10 times.
Oh, that's because you're reading their energy. Okay. Do you ask permission to work with their energy when you deal with them?
I don't. I should. But when I'm working one-on-one in my own business, yes. When I'm working in a busy shop experience, I don't, because it's a completely different mindset when you're going into a busy shop. Groomers working nonstop, because if they're not grooming, they're not being paid. So breaks are very limited, and it's kind of a rush to get done.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the hospital. 15 minutes out, 15 minutes in, 15 minutes out. Yeah. It's like medicine today. Uh-huh. So what are some of the things that I don't want to tell, or what do I need to tell how do I talk to you beyond, here's a picture of Fifi that I love and that Fifi did, that Fluffy I love. What things do I need to know to tell you, to say to you, to make my dog come out alive and healthy and pretty?
So how often are you planning on getting your dog groomed?
Okay, what difference does that make?
Because if you're getting your dog groomed every month, that means matting will be minimal for the most part. If you're getting your dog done once every 6 months, you should be getting a very short cut.
Okay, so it'd hold on longer, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Do people come in just for summer cuts when it's hot up there? Like, oh man, I got a husky and it's the summer in New York and it's hot up here.
People do it not too often. Shaving coats like that is another touchy topic in the grooming world because coats do serve a purpose. However, when you have a husky in
A Florida setting.
Exactly, it gets dicey because I had a St. Bernard. Her name was Cookie. She was in St. Thomas with me, and that is technically not a coat you're supposed to be cutting. I shaved her down because that's the only time she stopped panting. So it's a touchy subject because, yes, I could have ruined her coat. Yes, it could have been bad for her health long term, but short term, it did help. And I didn't ruin her coat.
What do you mean you could have ruined her coat? I mean, a hair grows back.
Sometimes it doesn't. With a double coat.
You mean I could take a dog in, planning him to come out, and he comes back and gets naked? He can have spots that are naked? No.
Yep. Like,
wait, back up. Why don't you tell us that when we walk in the door and hand you Fluffy?
a responsible groomer will tell you that.
Truly. Never heard it in my life. Okay.
So a dog like a border collie, if you get them cut short, so we have blade lengths and we have comb attachment lengths. The comb attachment lengths are a little bit longer, but if you were to get a blade length on your border collie, there is a chance that the coat won't grow in properly again.
Because they blow on a coat once a year.
Right. It's the structure of the hair. There's hard
really?
hair, and then there are
Yeah, that's right.
softer hairs around it. So if you cut that guard hair, there's nothing supporting the other hairs to grow up, and it could be problematic. It could also be something internal happening when that happens, or it could just be the cut was done at the wrong part of the hair growth cycle. So it is a bit of a throw of the dice, because a lot of times people will hear if you cut a golden retriever, they will hear that if you cut the coat, it's damaging. So they'll be like, but don't damage, like, cut my dog's hair, but don't damage the coat. And it's like, we'll do our best, but you are taking an informed risk here.
So there are little things like that in the world that people know about. And it's like, I don't know, rumors or echoes around the shop that, oh, don't cut my... Are there any others like that? Like, what's the worst kind of dog other than a nervous dog? But a worst kind of dog is it harder to grow a snappy little poodle or chihuahua, or is it easier to do, what's this thing called? Burmese mountain dog? Just stand him up there. And what is the easiest and the hardest dog to do?
Larger dogs are harder because they're harder on the body. So a lot of older groomers...
Harder on the groomer's body.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, picking it up.
Yep. Older groomers will have weight limits, often because they just can't physically handle grooming a large dog anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And that's for their protection, then, right?
Not even their protection. They probably abuse their body for so long that they just physically can't.
So they've blown out L10 and 11 in the middle of their back.
Exactly.
Can't pick a dog. Okay.
I'm trying to think of the easiest dog. Well, I guess the easiest dog for a groomer is what we call a bath dog. So it's just essentially like a cleanup service where we do the bath, we do the dry, we clip the nails, we clean the ears, put a bow on it, and call it done.
Oh, dear God. Okay. All right. Well, hold on.
I'm just laughing. That's all.
No, I totally get that. All right. We're going to wait for our sponsors to say their good stuff, and we thank them for being here. And then we'll be right back.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand only from Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
All right. We're back with Cynthia with Beauties and Beasts Incorporated in Long Island. And one of the things we were talking about is, what do you say to or how do you talk to a pet groomer when you go? And the first thing she says, if you're bringing Fluffy, who's been being groomed by Fifi, then you need to bring a picture of Fluffy that Fifi did so they can have sort of a guideline. What are other things that you need if I'm just bringing a pet to you, go and fix it and make it pretty?
So
what are you going to do?
we also need to know of any chronic illnesses or injuries. Like, many dogs have ACL problems. So we need to know that they shouldn't be jumping on things. If they have Addison's, to, I believe, limit their water if they're in the shop for a long period of time.
Can they be allergic to shampoo?
They absolutely can. So we need to be aware of any of those kind of allergies as well.
Do you put flea powder on them or anything?
That's not a standard thing. Most shops have like a flea shampoo of some sort if your dog has fleas. You definitely need to tell a groomer if your dog has fleas, because that needs to be addressed immediately.
What about that stinky spray? I mean, every time when I used to take a dog, they put this stinky spray on him when they leave him. They're going, oh, let me spray him. And you go, oh my God, I can't breathe. So the couple of times that I had to have Friend done, at the second time I said I'll never have him washed again by anybody but me. They put this stinky stuff on him, and I have asthma. So I could hardly breathe with Friend being around me. Of course, he sleeps beside me at night, and have him up beside me, it was like,
Yep.
So shouldn't the owner also tell you about things that they can't handle so you don't put them on the dog? Or do they even address that or think about that?
Many do. And that is also very important, because things like colognes are very optional.
Okay.
I have had people tell me they don't like the scent of the shampoo I used. So I will adjust as necessary. But those things are very, very important, because your comfort and allergies are just as important as your pets, because you are with your pets very frequently. Another thing, you were asking me if there are other like myths that people don't know about. Not ask for oatmeal shampoo. Only have us use oatmeal shampoo if your vet has prescribed it, essentially, because oatmeal will feed a lot of bad stuff on your dog, and many of the oatmeal shampoos out there just aren't good.
Too much oil in them.
Exactly.
They leave like a residue. They're sticky.
Exactly. Will follow what you asked for, and then you might not be happy. You would just ask for something that is as hypoallergenic as possible. Because again, hypoallergenic isn't really a regulated term, but shampoo manufacturers will limit the agitating ingredients inside of it.
Now, do you ever have anybody come in and say, look, I'm going to a party on Saturday and I'm wearing bubblegum pink and I want Fluffy to have bubblegum pink nails and a bow to match because I'm taking her with me?
So that's creative grooming.
Creative grooming, okay.
I don't do that, but there are many groomers who do.
And it's like some of them spray paint the dogs.
Not even spray paint, straight up dye. It's wonderful.
Really?
Early in my career.
You mean like permanent? I've never seen it permanent. I've seen spray painted ones, but I've not seen the permanent dye ones.
Search on your favorite social media platforms, creative grooming, and you'll see some wild things. Some of my favorite ones are like making a dog look like a skeleton.
A what?
A skeleton.
Oh, wow.
Like a poodle, just like all in black and white. So I did a little bit when I was in St. Thomas early in my career. I painted some dogs' nails. I dyed a dog pink.
Does that hurt the dog?
It doesn't. They are pet safe products, and the groomers who are doing it know what they're doing.
Okay.
It's fun. And some people do, I think there are little spray paints like with stencils. You put like, a little heart.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Those are absolutely options, but you're not going to find that in your standard salon.
Okay. So you would have to look for, if I wanted everything matchy, I would need to go look up creative grooming. And that would be the salon I'd go to, because most salons are more like hygienically and let's take care of the dog and make it. Well, just out of curiosity, with all the stories about groomers out there, because some people think, groomers are sometimes can be really individuals. What is the, not calling you strange or anything, but
I'll take it.
Do you like being around the pets more than people, most of them say?
Absolutely.
Which is probably true for most people, pets. And what is the strangest grooming story that you've ever heard?
So the one that comes to the top of my head, I had a coworker, because we don't have breaks, will eat at our stations unless there's like a...
Now, is that like when the dog's tied up on the little cord and you're standing there and you're eating your hamburger out in one hand and blow drying him with the other?
Some groomers do that, but for the most part at the shop I worked at, it would be like in between dogs, like grab a quick bite. But some groomers will sit there and eat and have like hair everywhere and, added roughage with the hair they're eating. But so this particular groomer would eat at her station. So she'd be eating at her table, which isn't particularly gross in and of itself. If you have...
Do you have to sanitize that table in between every pet?
We do at the shop I worked at, and I do in my personal...
business?
Yeah, in my personal business. But again, nothing is standardized. So...
Okay.
So she would be eating at her table, and if food fell on the table, she would eat it.
Like out of her sandwich on the table?
Yep. Or like a fry fell out of the bunch, just,
on the table. Now, did she beat the dog to it or did what?
Yeah, she would. Because like I said, it was between dogs. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, dogs do all kinds of things, excreting all kinds of stuff on your table. What are you doing? She's like, oh, it's fine. And then one day a dog...
She ate it?
Yeah, she would eat it.
Oh.
One day a dog had very creamy diarrhea on her table. We called it ketchup. And never again. So every time after a dog would excrete on her table, I would say ketchup, and she's like, yep, and never.
So she decided after that she was never going to eat off her table again. Okay, well, we knew there were some interesting personalities in the groomer world. Is there, and that's because if it weren't for your love of pets, you couldn't do what you do. And so for that, I want to honor you, and I want to salute you for doing things that those of us go, well, I'm going to take it to my groomer so she can do that. How about cats? Do you ever do cats or ferrets or
I do cats.
bunny?
I don't do small animals. I haven't been trained.
How do you do a cat?
So
Carefully.
Exactly. And as quickly as you can. You have to really respect a cat's boundaries, and you have to move quickly. a lot of cat grooming. You
Probably have to drug the cat, though. I know you can't, but
you can drug dogs. I've never heard of drugging a cat.
I'll interject here. I had a friend whose dog, they couldn't cut his toenails, and they literally had to take him to the veterinarian every so often and have him literally put to sleep and have his toenails cut because he was that not going to have it. So I just,
And then there are sedatives as well.
How about a cat, though? Seriously. Do you groom them medically, or do you literally have cats that come like dogs do monthly?
Cats, I go to their homes. I either can do it or I can't do it. If I can't do it, they'll have to find a more experienced cat groomer who can.
Are there specialty cat groomers?
There are.
Really?
There is 2 certification programs for cats. Like I said, grooming is not regulated. There are lots of certification programs. So for cats, there are 2. And these groomers can perform magic. So cats that I would pass up, they could do with skill that is amazingly impressive.
Was it because you think they communicated with the cat, or what? They just had, like the cat person.
Cat person and the hands-on training. I haven't had the full train. My cat clientele is much smaller than my dog clientele.
How about bunnies and ferrets and guinea pigs? Any of those get shaved or flipped?
I believe they get washed. They all get nail trims. So you can bring all of them. Bunnies, gerbils, hamsters, ferrets, all those little small animals can get nail trims. And a lot of them do regularly need it. I have heard, though, if your hamster is like in a good environment, they really shouldn't need it. So, but I don't really know much about small animals.
What is the line? Like, if I think a dog is a line, and then ponies would go to horse groomers, but is there a line in there that, when you're a pet groomer, that you stop at? I mean, could you do like a small pony? Do you groom anything like that? Or is there, Great Danes or big dogs are the line?
I think big dogs are the line. Though I have seen like on social media, groomers like washing their goats in their tubs. So,
and I was thinking about the little pot-bellied pigs. Do they take them to a groomer and get their nails clipped and all that?
Well, they have hooves, right? So they probably need a farrier. I would think the groomer would need special skills.
A big bathtub.
I think a bathtub could handle the pig, but for the nails, I think that's a skill set an average groomer would not have.
Yeah, because that would be like hooves on a pig, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us that has been entertaining or interesting in your career? And then we'll just wrap this up, because I'm just fascinated by the fact that you have the courage. That's the way I'm going to say it. The courage to do this, because I appreciate a well-groomed dog, but no way do I have the skill set nor patience to do that. So what would you end up with today, with anything that's just special to you?
I don't have any stories I could think of, but to reiterate with communicating with your groomer, let us know. Don't let us find out. So if there's an injury, if there's something going on with your dog, if they're a little off, if anything that's concerning you, you can let us know. And grooming is a tipping business. So 20% is kind of standard. I'm just going to leave that out there. And we care about you.
And book you in plenty of time. I never realized that you have to be booked in plenty of time, too, because people think, oh, I'll just call the groomer today and she'll get him by Friday. I've learned that y'all have a schedule.
Absolutely. Especially mobile groomers. Mobile groomers are usually very strict about their schedules because of routing. But even salons, you kind of know you've met a good salon if there's a wait time, if you can't get in that day, unless there was a cancellation or a groomer decided they could take on an extra dog that day. It's an indication of quality,
Well, I appreciate you being on today. Now, folks, you can find Cynthia at Beasties and Beast Incorporated in Long Island, New York, and we'll have her information in our show notes, introductory material. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on Pet Life Radio. It's the largest pet podcast collection in the world, and we're so honored to be a part of it. I've got some books on Amazon if you want to check them out, and you can find me on YouTube and TikTok, and we'll look forward to seeing you in our next production. Thanks so very much, and keep those sanitary glands clean. Bye!
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.